Hey, thanks for tuning into my podcast. This is Big Head on the Block, hosted by me, Tim Henderson, aka Big Head.
2210, I'm in a vehicle pursuit westbound. Black male just crossed over on the Monterey on the Florida. He's westbound. Silver Nissan.
Hey, welcome back to Big Head on the Block. We're going to take you back to July 31st, 2017. And what I'm going to do is read you a press release by the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Middle District of Louisiana. And it is as follows. Following a high-speed chase on July 31st, 2017, Terrence Thornton fled from Baton Rouge police officers on foot. As he fled, Thornton hid a Glock pistol within a residential backyard. He later directed an associate to retrieve the hidden pistol and bring it to his residence. On August 1st, 2017, law enforcement officers executed a search warrant at the defendant's residence where they recovered a Glock pistol and a Century Arms 7.62 caliber rifle. In announcing the sentence of 120 months in federal prison, the court specifically referenced the fact that Thornton possessed both firearms in connection with his possession with intent to distribute cocaine and aggravated criminal damage to property associated with 2 drive-by shootings of a residence in July of 2017. So now let me take you back to the summer of 2017. So in July, I was assigned to the Violent Crime Unit. Specifically, I was a liaison to the Crime Strategies Unit. And what we did, we were an enforcement component who analyzed and looked at violent trends. We looked at violent felons, and we looked at people that needed to be targeted. And I was under the direction of Captain Ricky Arnett at the time. And let me just say this real quick. Captain Ricky Arnett and Chief Dabity, I had some medical issues, had a heart attack. And when I came back a little bit early from my 12-week cardio rehab, both of these guys had enough compassion and understanding of my situation where they put me in this position in the Crime Strategies Unit that had actually been created prior to me having a heart attack. But because of manpower issues, I was never able to be released from uniform patrol as a uniform patrol sergeant. So if both of you guys are listening, thank you so much for putting my health and being concerned about my well-being. Now, back on point, this position in the Crime Strategies Unit was one, that had been analyzed, and we figured, through dialogue that it was a position that would really benefit the department. So, it wasn't like a sympathy placement or anything. I was going to actually be working. I was actually going to be doing things that I really love to do because anybody that knows me understands this. I chase fugitives all the time. It was something that I enjoyed doing. I love targeting violent offenders because the small segment of violent offenders in today's society, especially in the Baton Rouge area, if we can eradicate them, incarcerate them, if we can help change their behavior and their mindset, then Baton Rouge is going to be a safer community, right? So I felt like this situation, putting me here for my health, helped me, and it also helped the department because now they had a valuable resource that was not only motivated, but extremely dedicated to stopping known violent offenders. So let's talk about the process of apprehending a fugitive. First of all, you have to do extensive research. What a lot of people don't understand when they see these shows on TV, they see the outcome and they hear some details, but man, it's a very intricate process. You have to do an extreme amount of research. Sometimes it takes days, sometimes it takes hours. It just depends on the person. You have to analyze their behavior. You have to analyze all their arrests. You have to analyze their known associates. You have to find out any family members. You have to find out addresses. You have to basically have a packet together. And it doesn't have to be a physical packet, but at least a mental, you have some mental notes and some notes to kind of review, if you need to. But you need to know who their girlfriends are currently, previously. You need to know any family members that may let them seek refuge. So you have to know as much about this person as you can. And obviously, everybody has to be given a picture of him. I knew Terrence personally, so I didn't need a picture of him. I knew what he was capable of, and I knew his modus operandi, if you will. I understood how he moves, what he does, why he does it. Terrence was at this point in time, at least at this point in time in his life, he was becoming violent or more violent, whatever the case may be. But As we did all our research, we formulated a plan. Now, if you remember, I told you I was in a temporary duty assignment. So I still had my same call number, 2210. I still had my marked unit because I hadn't transitioned to an unmarked unit yet. That being said, we were going to utilize me as the arrest component to make the traffic stop. So we were going to do a random traffic stop because we were aware of his location through investigative means. I don't want to get too specific into it. Terrence, if you're listening, you know, because you know how we got you. But I don't want to divulge that to everybody else. Through investigative means, we were able to make a traffic stop in my marked unit. Now, it was going to be a random traffic stop. Terrence knows me. He probably knows my voice. But the one thing he's not going to factor in is the area of town that we stopped him in, right? Because he knows me from the 2nd District area, the Highland Road precinct. We way in 3rd District off of Florida Boulevard, somewhere around Sharp. So when I activated my lights and sirens to stop him, we knew what he was driving. We knew where he was at. He pulled into the McDonald's parking lot, at which point in time he went into the overflow parking lot. Now, understand the mindset of people that are in the life that Terrence is in, right? This is just a generic overview, but they scheme, they scam, they hustle, they maneuver, they pay attention. These guys, you very rarely going to catch them off guard. It may happen, but most of the time it won't. So when he gets stopped, I can only assume that he was wondering, are they stopping me for a traffic violation? Or are they stopping me because they have warrants out on me? He probably didn't know we had warrants out on him because we kind of kept it close-knit. The detectives knew, and the Louisiana State Police Task Force knew, and obviously I knew about it also. So it was pretty much contained. So as he pulled into the parking lot, he went into the overflow parking lot, like I said. I told him over the PA, driver, step back with your driver's license, just trying to make it generic, make it seem generic, that I just randomly stopped him. Well, I had my vehicle tactically parked in case he decided to get out and engage me. And, I would be able to seek cover through tactical means and then, react to whatever he decided to do. Also in the parking lot were probably 6 or 7 unmarked units that the State Police Task Force were driving in. They had positioned themselves in a situation where we were tactically ready to engage him either in a foot pursuit. Hopefully he would just surrender, any kind of shooting scenario. We made sure we wasn't in any kind of crossfire or anything. So everybody was set. The one thing that we didn't anticipate happened, but we reacted to it. He decided not to get out the car and he decided to punch it. So he punched it. He decided running was his best avenue of escape and in the vehicle. So it became a vehicle pursuit. He exited the McDonald's parking lot, jumped some curbs, went through the grass area, got up on Florida Boulevard Service Road. Eventually he got on to Florida Boulevard. And now I'm going to play you the actual pursuit. And when you're listening to the pursuit, I want you to hear a few things. You're going to hear me give his license plate and his direction and all that. But what also is going to be heard is you'll hear an officer giving an address. Because we did research before, we felt certain that as he started running and the way he started maneuvering back to a particular location, we thought he was going to go back to a specific address because we had done our research and we knew that is a definite possibility, because a lot of these guys, they'll run in a vehicle pursuit, and they'll bail out in an area that they're familiar with and try to get back to a home base, if you will. So we knew a lot about what he may do. But in this event, sometimes we put enough pressure on him that he's not able to get back to where he wants to get. And so this kind of transitions. But also what I want you to hear is I'm in an area that I'm not 100% familiar with because I hadn't worked this area in probably 10 or 12 years. And you're going to hear me mention a location called UniFirst, UNIFIRST. Never knew what the building is. Still would have a hard time finding it. However, I said where I was at, and you can hear another officer asking for a location, but an officer that worked 3rd District recognized the name, and he told the other person what street it was on. So there's a lot of dynamics that go into a police pursuit, and you need participation from everybody. You don't want to cut the primary officer off who's chasing and giving directions, but you still want to help if you can. And the last thing I'll tell you about the pursuit is this. Because I wasn't really knowledgeable of the area, you're going to hear me say, take him, unit, take him. I wanted a unit that was close, that was a 3rd District unit, to jump in and take lead on the pursuit because I knew he was more familiar with the area than me. It wasn't relayed to the point where he actually did, so I continued the chase. So now let me play you the pursuit.
2210, I'm in a vehicle pursuit westbound. Black male just crossed over on the Monterey on the Florida. He's westbound. Silver Nissan.
That's in there.
He's continuing west. Looks like he's turning. Disregard, he's still heading west.
Sorry, any units taking assistance?
Turning between the Burger King and the Raising Cane's.
Yeah, we're coming up East Airport to Florida.
He's going to come out by Academy probably on airline. Let 4th District and 1st District know. Should have several felony warrants. He's continued on the service road, past Big Lots. Like he's trying to get on the airline highway at floor lines. We got him in traffic a little bit, still on airline, northbound. Zulu Tango Bravo 474, I believe. He's going to go through the light at the passing Wendy's AutoZone. Jump in front now. Take him, unit. We're coming up to Choctaw. Airline in Choctaw. We got him boxed in right here. All right, he cut through the traffic. Airline in Choctaw. He's correction. We on Time Drive, eastbound. See if we got a K9 out headquarters. He's smoking real bad, so he might have to bail out soon. We're passing airway. Somebody might try to go back to Florida. I had to lose him a little bit. I picked him back up. Looks like we're going to come out maybe by Walmart and all that area. All right, he's going straight. He's probably going to bail out. I don't really know what building this is. Unit first. He's turning back around. He's coming at us, y'all. Somebody else going to have to pick him up.
Where you at?
Y'all don't move. Let me back out. Let me go. Anybody see him?
Where you at?
Unit first is on Old Felon, right past Tom.
Passing Walmart now. He's coming back out to Florida, y'all. He's on the service road on Florida, eastbound. Whoever's in the Charger might be able to keep up with him better.
He is still on the service road. He is still eastbound, coming up to Sharp.
He's trying to get back to 10-5-30. Where's he at, Joe?
Sharp. He took Sharp.
He's trying to go back to 10-5-30, apparently.
Just follow the smoke trail. Still southbound on Sharp.
Just passing Malalea. Passing South River Oaks.
I think we've lost him.
Make sure we get somebody at Florida Boulevard or at his apartments.
Female said he went straight ahead. I'm going to continue straight, y'all.
What type of car was it? Gray Nissan Altima.
Gray Nissan Altima, Zulu Tango Bravo 474.
He's probably going to try to double back to Broadmoor Plantation. I'm sitting over here. If anybody else in the area.
3684. I'm in the parking lot at Broadmoor Plantation.
What's his name, his description, and what he's wanted for?
Terrence Thornton, and there's a list of charges: gun charges, dope charges, attempted murder charges.
You got a description just in case he ditches that car?
I'll send you a picture, Myra.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Joel, I sent you updated coordinates. I'll let you know when I get another one.
Tim, if you can, send me a picture of that suspect.
Now, I stopped it right there. That is actual audio from the actual chase that day. I condensed it a little bit and I took some things out at the end that really weren't relevant because it was about 10 to 12 minute pursuit. Now, when Terrence decided to pull up behind that UniFirst building when I thought he was going to bail out, he actually turned around and started coming back toward me, and you heard me say he's coming back. I wasn't able to turn around quick enough because they had multiple units that had come into the parking lot also, so we was kind of obstructing each other. So another unit had to pick him up. I was in that Charger, and I was able to rapidly catch up. But I will tell you this, that damn Nissan Sentra he was in, that little thing was smoking, but it was moving. When I say smoking, I mean literally smoking. I thought many times he was going to have to bail out. I thought he was going to blow the engine, which sometimes occurs when you chasing these little small cars, but not today. So ultimately, we lose him as he turned off of Florida on the Sharp. We lose him. We think, as you could hear Detective Brian Watson saying, he may go back to the address on Florida Boulevard. So they were prepared for him to try to make his way back. He's not necessarily going to take the car back to that location. He'll take it close, he'll jump out, and then he'll make his way back home. But, because of the research I told you about earlier, we had pre-planned destination or locations that we focused on just in case he were to get away, because you always have to prepare for everything. And the contingency plan for him getting away is this: we need to know who he's going to talk to, where he's going to go. That's very important. And that's why you have to do extensive research in order to get to the point where if they get away from the initial pursuit, that you can find them. So let me tell you, everybody involved, we have the Louisiana State Police Task Force. We have probably multiple agencies that help. A lot of times they come and help us and we don't necessarily identify them, but if they see a chase, they're going to kind of join in. We also had 3rd District. Now, when we started the pursuit, I initially was on an alternate frequency with the Louisiana State Police Task Force. Because we got in a pursuit in 3rd District, we all switched to the 3rd District frequency so the local officers could know what we were doing. You heard me at one point in time say advise 1st District and 4th District because Airline Highway, where we were at, it borders 3rd District, it borders 1st District, and then a little further down Airline, it borders 4th District. So we want every available officer who just may randomly be in the area or can get to the area to come, because this is a high-value target. We, under no circumstances, can let this guy get away because he'll go into hide and it'll make it a whole lot more difficult to find him later. So we're all in, right? We're all in. He eventually abandons the car in a neighborhood somewhere around the Sherwood Forest area, close to I-12. I can't remember the neighborhood, and I don't know that it actually has a name, but because we did research, we knew a family member of his lived in the area. Now, we're still actively monitoring his location, so we 100% certain that he's in this area. We just don't know where he's at. So at this point in time, I call the street crimes unit. I called Troy Lawrence. I think he was a sergeant at the time. And I said, hey, man, we need some resources. This is who we got, and this is what we got going on. So Troy and his team deployed over there. So we got the street crimes unit assisting us, and they usually bring anywhere from 5 to 10, maybe a few more people, depending on who's working that day. But they had a pretty large group of them. So we're in the area of the neighborhood. We're 100% certain he's there through investigative means. We know his location, not the exact location, because sometimes we get a location status that gives us kind of a broad radius. Sometimes we get a real close radius. Sometimes we get a broad radius. So we set up a perimeter in the neighborhood, and because we know Terrence and we know his behavior, I know him personally, we think that he's probably just going to lay down somewhere and not necessarily try to break into a house, because a lot of these guys that run, they typically don't break in the house, take people hostages and do stuff like that. So we got perimeter units. We got enough units to start working the interior of the perimeter, right? The perimeter units have to stay where they're at and not get involved in the actual trying to locate the suspect, because if he tries to escape from the perimeter, somebody needs to be able to see him. So the interior perimeter units, they're doing house-to-house searches. And like I said, we got a large number of them. So we kind of coordinated, let's move this way, and this way. And then we had a couple of mobile. I was actually mobile because I was in a police unit. And the reason I like to stay mobile is because we can keep him pinned down. If he sees the unit, he's less apt to get up and try to move. So if he's laying down, and when I say laying down, what I mean is this: he's probably found a good place to hide in somebody's backyard, somebody's garbage can, a shed that may be open, just something where he can evade capture from us. But like I said, we 100% committed. We gonna catch this guy this day. We're not gonna let him remain out because who knows what kind of crime spree he may go on. We're not under time constraints because we're going to be here for 2 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours. We're not leaving until we find this guy because he's loose in the neighborhood and we're 100% sure he's there. Now, what I will say is this: we're not getting any updated data on where he's at. Okay, we're only getting historical data, which we already knew where he was at in this neighborhood. So he's off the grid, if you will. But we're just doing a house-to-house search, and it's time-consuming. The 3rd District officers, they're responsible for calls for service. So we told them, thanks for the help. One thing I failed to mention is this: one of the 3rd District officers, I believe, while we were in the neighborhood, they did find his car abandoned. It was backed up into a parking lot, kind of in some townhomes in the area. So kudos to whatever officer that was for doing your job. So we, that just further validated that we knew where he was at. So as we're kind of closing in on the fugitive, we are in a position where it's really hot out, and we know this: he's probably tired. He expended a lot of energy getting away from us. He expended a lot of adrenaline, and it's extremely hot. I mean, it's like 9,500 degree hot out there, and the feel like factor had to be over 100. At least it felt that way, and we all in body armor and everything, so it's really hot on us. Well, we get some information from a bystander that says, hey man, a black male was just peeping around the corner. Well, we're in a position where we deploy several people to the area, and they were able to catch Terrence's brother. All right, so we got him in custody, and he's a known violent offender also. I don't know what charges he had faced up to then, but I knew who he was, and we at least suspected him of some shootings. So I won't mention his name right now because even though we took him into custody and arrested him, I just can't remember the charges. I did a little research, but it was hard to find. So let's go back to Terrence. Terrence has got to be laid down in his neighborhood, and it's an exhaustive search for us. We going house to house, house to house, house to house. Typically, if you doing a search, you can see the front yard in these neighborhoods. So we knew he was in the backyard somewhere because the neighborhood, the way it was comprised, they had front yards that didn't have any fences or anything. So he would have been wide open and exposed. So we knew he had to be in the backyard. It was just a matter of just narrowing it down to where he would be. Well, about 2 hours into it, we still on point. We all hot. We tired. But we committed to this moment. So what happens then is we get some updated data on where he's at. I relayed this information to Troy Lawrence and Brian Watson, who were close to me. I was in my unit, and I had Terrence's brother in the back of my car secured, right? So I relayed to them, he's got to be within this location and this location, which was basically the backyard of two houses. We had them pinpointed that precise. So Troy went one way and Brian went the other way, and I'm disseminating the rest of this information over the radio so the interior units can converge. Remember I said the perimeter units needed to stay where they were at? Because if we locate him, he may try to run, and you want him to run and be seen. Well, people say as luck would have it. Nah, this wasn't luck, man. This was preparation. This was a plan of action. We put ourselves in a position to be successful, and guess what? Troy Lawrence saw Terrence in the backyard. He held him at bay. Brian Watson entered the other backyard where Terrence was located, and we were able to take him into custody without incident. He was hot, tired, and sweaty. He probably was a little relieved that he was caught, even though he was probably mad about it. Now, at this point in time, he probably doesn't have any idea exactly why we're chasing him. He knows what he's done, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he knows, he could actually think that we only stopped him and trying to arrest him because he ran. Well, that's not the case. We had all these charges that I mentioned early on that he was convicted of. So a win for the good guys on this one. Terrence, you was a formidable opponent, but we got you. We got you on July 31st, 2017. Long arm of the law reached out and grabbed you. Well, let me tell you the rest of the story. We was out there high-fiving. We was out there. I mean, we was happy. You know, when you go through all this. Now, okay, let me go back to the pursuit. All right, this was something that real cops really enjoy. We love pursuits. We love chases. We love whatever. We just love the action, right? So we got a lot of action. And when I say high-fiving, we ain't out there physically high-fiving each other, but that's the kind of moment that we were in. We were all elated. But the job's not done. He gets booked, and instead of us just saying, hey, man, we happy that we got him, we made a whole separate case. When I say we, I just mean the police department, the state police fugitive task force, and everybody involved. I wasn't specifically involved in that aspect of it. But let me tell you what happened as a result of this. So I told you that we found a vehicle. Terrence actually hid a gun behind a fence whenever he ran from us. So logic would have it that he was trying to evade us so he wouldn't get caught with the gun, right? Well, he made a phone call. We intercepted a phone call, and we were able to determine that his known associate, Lester Desmoulin, was the one who was on the phone. And Lester agreed. Once he found out where the gun was hidden, Lester went and retrieved the gun and brought it back to the address on Florida Boulevard that we had mentioned earlier. Well, now, once again, we have put ourselves in a position to make a good quality arrest. Detectives get search warrants for the residence on Florida Boulevard. They go there. They arrest Lester Desmoulin for being a felon in possession of a firearm. So as a result of good police work, good follow-up work, good detective work, we now have two people that eventually get convicted of crimes, and we have the brother of Terrence who was placed in jail on whatever warrants he had that particular day. And he was a nuisance throughout many of the years to come. So we'll do a whole nother podcast on him later. But right now, I am going to read you the facts surrounding the arrest of Lester Desmoulin. So now I'm going to read you the case involving Lester Desmoulin as told by the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Middle District of Louisiana. On July 31st, 2017, Desmoulin, who was previously convicted of a felony, took a phone call from his friend Terrence Thornton after Thornton had been arrested on several fugitive warrants. During the call, Thornton advised Desmoulin that during an earlier police chase, he had successfully hidden a Glock pistol in the backyard of a residence in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, before the arrest. At Thornton's request, Desmoulin went to the residence, took possession of the firearm. On August 1st, 2017, law enforcement officers executed a search warrant at an apartment that Desmoulin shared with Thornton in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and among other things, the Glock pistol was recovered. In October 2018, as we mentioned, Thornton was sentenced to 120 months in federal prison. Now, U.S. Attorney Freeman stated that Desmoulin was sentenced to 8 years in prison and another stern sentence imposed in our efforts to combat violent crime. It highlights the success of our joint federal, state, and local law enforcement to ensure the safety of our community. It also highlights our efforts to convince repeat offenders, such as Desmoulin, to return to a life as a contributing member of society or face the consequence of a significant term of imprisonment. Now, I read you the end of that to tell you this. That's a profound statement. We have got to do things to not only identify and target, but to incarcerate people and hold them accountable for their behavior. Too many times in today's society, this was 2017 and we're in 2024 now. Too many times in today's society, several things wouldn't have happened. Detectives and officers are overwhelmed, so maybe there would have not been any follow-up, and maybe we wouldn't have found a gun, and we wouldn't have been able to arrest Desmoulin for his participation in the event, right? So that's one bonus of having enough manpower and having enough desire to continue a case. The Louisiana State Police Fugitive Task Force was very good at getting additional evidence and information for detectives. They were very good because Detective Brian Watson, and I mention him quite often. Whenever I need help, I would defer to Brian sometimes because he was very knowledgeable. he was a homicide detective, so he knows as well as anybody what is needed in these cases. So he always went above and beyond to try and get any kind of anything that would be of evidentiary value to help pursue these matters in these cases in court. Because just because you make an arrest doesn't mean you have a good case, right? So you present the best case you can, you give it to the district attorney and or the U.S. attorney if the federal system decides to adopt the case, and you give them enough information and a solid case, and it's up to them to do their job and prosecute, which clearly happened in both of these cases. So you got a combined 18 years on both of these arrests, right? That's a significant amount of time. People aren't used to getting that amount of time. And what I will say to investigators now, do your job. What I'll say to the district attorneys, do your job. And to the judges, you have got to impose stiff sentences on these people to keep them incarcerated while they continue this pattern of behavior. If they get out and they get clean and get straight, but look, if they don't have consequences, they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over. I can't tell you the number of times I dealt with the same people over and over and over. In an unrelated case, just to give you an example, there was a guy who was wanted. I arrested him on an armed robbery. The next day he was out. They had another warrant that came for him, a felony warrant. I arrested him again. A couple days later, I told my friend Chris Rogers, we were, just riding around. We were assigned to second district at the time. And I said, man, they got another warrant out for him. He said, why you keep catching them? Because they keep cutting them loose. I'm like, yeah, I put myself in jeopardy because this is a known violent offender. Now, luckily, we had a good rapport. He never ran from me. He would run from other cops, but he just allowed me to arrest him, because of the rapport we had. But the point is, why should I have to arrest the same guy 3 times on 3 felonies within a week? Judges imposed the proper sentences. This was a case of a bunch of motivated officers who went above and beyond to make sure that everybody involved in this crime paid. And thank you to the U.S. Attorney's Office for your commitment to prosecuting these cases. As we wrap up the podcast, I just want to tell everybody, I didn't mention anybody's name from the Louisiana State Police Task Force because a lot of them are still actively working and I don't know their current assignments and I didn't want to compromise them in any way. But I will give a shout out to Detective Watson and to Detective Patterson. Brian Watson and Joel Patterson have both since retired with the Baton Rouge City Police Department, and both were incredible assets to the Baton Rouge Police Department. Both served in multiple capacities within the Baton Rouge Police Department. Most notably, I think both were in the Criminal Investigative Bureau, different assignments, but their run as a Louisiana State Police Fugitive Task Force liaison was one that I was heavily involved in, and I really appreciated them including me and allowing me to be part of the process to get these bad guys off the street. To the young up-and-coming officers, if you want to make a name for yourself, you got to get out there and put in the work. It don't come easy. You can't just go to a call and go to the next one. You got to put a little energy, effort, and dedication into it. There's a lot of talent out there in the police world. BRPD, EBR Sheriff, Louisiana State Police, all you young officers, you need to make sure that you are primarily focused on making sure that the communities that you are serving are as safe as possible. Make the people's quality of life good. And that means that you have to put yourself in a position to target these known violent offenders. And to all the uniformed patrol officers out there, if you're listening, kudos to you. You know I'm a street guy and I always got your back. And I want y'all to get out there and I want you to hustle. Y'all the ones who know these guys. Y'all the ones who deal with them every day. So take note of what they're doing. And when these detectives call you and they ask you for information, make sure you have information for them. Whatever area you're working, it's important that you know your area. When you're policing your community, you need to know everything about your community. That's why I was successful in this, helping them with Terrence Thornton, because I had vast knowledge of not only him, but his family and his movements and everything. So kudos to everybody involved in this case. It was one for the ages. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Big Head on the Block. I'm Tim Henderson, the host. I look forward to dropping another podcast soon. Please give us any comments, likes, dislikes, or any topics y'all would like to discuss. Thank you.